but it is believed to involve a temporary ceasefire across 3 different areas of the Strip. The UN had been warning for months about the spread of polio and will want to finalise that plan as soon as possible. We'll keep an eye on the Security Council through the programme. Let's speak to Laura Blumenfeld. She's a Middle East analyst and former senior policy advisor on the State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team. You're very welcome to the programme. I mean, these sort of operations are commonplace in the occupied West Bank, but not usually on this scale. And it's certainly the case that they've intensified in the past 3 years since Netanyahu and this government, which includes far-right ministers, came to power. How concerned do you think the State Department is getting about this?
We've always been concerned. When I was working at the State Department under President Obama, I still remember how my colleagues, how their jaws would clench when there would be an announcement. We were working on an Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement, but then there would be an announcement about settlements, and that would always set us back for days, if not weeks. I think just today's military operations underscore something that we've been saying, for as long as we've been working on this, which is the status quo is unsustainable. Yeah,
well, Washington did announce sanctions on an Israeli settler group this week. Are they prepared to go further than that? Because the Europeans are talking today about sanctioning some of the far-right ministers.
Yeah, it's interesting that the United States has shown a willingness to sanction individuals and entities. They haven't gone so far as the ministers. It's important to watch. The United States expressed serious concerns. Those were the 2 words they used. And then Benjamin Netanyahu put out a statement saying, we are seriously concerned. And he said that he's in intensive negotiations with the United States about those sanctions. So it's always been a friction point politically. Militarily, we talk about no daylight between the United States and Israel. There, I do see kind of shoulder to shoulder as the Israelis brace for a potential Iranian attack. We have 18 warships in the Mediterranean, and that's no small amount of firepower.
Yeah, I mean, obviously what would help alleviate some of this situation is a ceasefire deal. What are you hearing from your sources about where that stands tonight?
It's the nitty gritty. I'm hearing nuts and bolts, all these languages about details. And as I learned the hard way, the devil is in the details. I'm hoping that maybe this polio vaccination pause could be spun into something slightly more permanent, but we'll have to see. It's sadly, because of the U.S. election, it's really hard for there to be any kind of big movement or pressure. And I hate to think about the lives that are hanging in balance, both for the Israelis and the Palestinians, if we have to wait till November.
Yeah, let's talk about that humanitarian pause, which is being discussed tonight at the Security Council. We've been hearing on the BBC from Margaret Harris, who is the spokesperson for the World Health Organization. Have a listen to what she said.
Reaching every child is going to be a huge challenge, and we've got over 640,000 children we need to reach, every child under the age of 10. And so we'll do it we will have fixed vaccination sites, but we will also have vaccinators going tent to tent. But it will be dependent on security. If there's any sense of fighting or evacuation orders or more threats that mean people will be displaced, it won't be possible to reach all those children.
640,000, that is an extraordinary number of young people to try and reach. People who are traumatised, who don't necessarily want to come out of their tents and their structures because they don't trust the process. Do you think something like this could hold, that it could alleviate the problem?
I'll tell you why I'm optimistic. First of all, because I'm an American. But the second, really, the most important reason is that sometimes the simpler the project, the easier it is to implement, especially in the Middle East. One Israeli negotiator told me when we were working on the deal, there's no point plan that works in the Middle East except the 1-point plan. And by focusing just on polio, this isn't a 3-part deal where we can agree on the first part and haggle forever about the second and third parts. It's limited, and so we have a chance for success.
Laura Blumenfeld, good to talk to you tonight. Thanks for coming on the programme. Let me just show you the pictures live from New York, where the Security Council has just begun its discussions. We're being told that this humanitarian pause, would stretch from about 6 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. But of course, it's incumbent on both sides to observe that ceasefire if the World Health Organization and their teams are going to get into these 3 districts to start